whether the team is performing clean or unsightly. We'll cover it all here on Washington Football Nightly. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So, had a chance to watch the defensive film from Week 6 versus the Giants, and I came to this conclusion. We made 2 bad defensive plays. We had 2 defensive letdowns in the entire game, and it cost us 7 points. Obviously, we lost by 1 point, so it was a big deal. But when you look at this defensive performance on Sunday, despite the Giants having a couple of really long drives, one in the first half, one in the third quarter, outside of that, this defense pretty much was lights out. And got to give a lot of credit to the offense because they kept this Giants offense off the field. The Washington offense converted on third downs, converted on fourth downs, and kept the football away from the Giants offensively for the most part. And then when they did get opportunities, especially in the second half, outside of that one possession in the third quarter, they got off the field. They got stops, and they didn't let them in the end zone for the most part. Only gave up 1 touchdown in the game. Defensively, that is. Obviously, there was the scoop and score that was you could charge that to the account of the offense. So there are 2 plays in particular, and I'll tell you both of them. One, they give up the 3rd and 8 touchdown pass to Darius Slayton. Ron Rivera or Jack Del Rio decides to dial up some pressure, dials up a 6-man pressure. They come after Daniel Jones. They get to Daniel Jones, but it's one-on-one on the outside. And they had the genius idea for that particular snap of moving Kendall Fuller from his natural cornerback position to safety. Put Fab Moreau in his spot. Fab Moreau gets smoked. Touchdown. Great throw by Daniel Jones, too. You got to give him credit there as well. So that's a 4-point blunder there by the defense because 3 points were already given up before they stepped onto the field because of the interception thrown by Kyle Allen. So not going to charge 3 of those points to their account. They were going to give up a field goal whether or not they wanted to unless they forced a turnover. If the Giants didn't gain another yard after the interception and the sudden change of possession, they would have gotten a field goal out of the mix. So I'm not going to charge 3 of those points. Only the other 4 that was gained by giving up the 3rd and 8 touchdown to Darius Slayton. Good play by the Giants. You got to find a way to get a stop there. Then the other bad play in the game was the 49-yard read option run given up to Daniel Jones, a.k.a. Vanilla Vic, as they named him in the community chat, which was hilarious to me. Vanilla Vic. So, essentially, what I'm telling you is that, and that led to a field goal. 49-yard run into Washington territory. The defense buckled down and only gave up a field goal after that. That's it. 7 points. This defense essentially made 2 mistakes. It cost them 7 points. Outside of that, they were pretty damn good. Giants had an opening drive that they were able to move it down the field, but they had to settle for a field goal. And they had the big run by Daniel Jones. Those were really the 2 drives that they had. Now, again, they would have at least come away with a field goal, maybe even a touchdown, if not for the interception by Kendall Fuller. Remember, that was a nice, long drive that really ate up the vast majority of the third quarter. So, again, the defense was solid. It was not great. They need to improve, just like the offense does. But as I stated yesterday, it was good enough to win on Sunday. And that's the part that I keep harping on. I keep coming back to. I'm ready to wipe the slate clean because it's Wednesday. But as I watched the film today, it just continued to hammer home the point that we had no business losing this game. We didn't. Tim Settle was awesome in this game, by the way. And if you are on Patreon, and I had a couple new patrons today, I want to thank you guys for coming on board and thank you right now for your patronage. All of you who already are on Patreon, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I greatly appreciate you. It's so good to know that the work isn't going in vain. And then those of you who aren't on Patreon, What are you waiting on, man? I had someone tell me the other day, and I said this on the film breakdown. If Chase Young doesn't have a big game, if the defensive line doesn't ball, if Chase Young doesn't ball on Sunday versus Dallas, then he doesn't think they're any good. I can't help you. If you're not watching the film, I can't help you there. I'm just going to keep scrolling. I'm not even going to respond to that comment. Because if you're watching the film, you know that these guys are playing quality football. Look, the sacks are going to come. The sacks are going to come, but they are impacting these games that they're playing in. Whether you're talking about Tim Settle, who I thought was exceptional in this game versus the Giants, Daron Payne, who showed up in this game, and he shows up every single week. Jonathan Allen was solid, nothing earth-shattering, but Jonathan Allen, that's who he is. He's a solid football player. You need those guys on your team, by the way. And Chase Young had another good, strong performance. And he's getting double-teamed still. Remember, I said I wanted to see if he was getting doubled. He's still getting double-teamed at times. So not all of these rushes were against doubles, but they were getting the ball out of his hands too, quickly. They weren't letting Daniel Jones stand back there for a very long time and assess the field. They were getting it out of his hands quickly. So I thought the defensive line was good in this game. Didn't give up a ton on the ground. Obviously, Daniel Jones was their leading rusher. Tells you all you need to know. He had that big 49-yard run. Outside of that, they didn't run it all that effectively. Had some good hits early in the game. Devontae Freeman broke Jimmy Moreland off something proper. I thought Jimmy might have lost something there. I was so glad to see him get up because it didn't look good. It did not look good. And then he broke DeShazer Everett off something proper on that same play. So, anyway, outside of that, I thought the defense was pretty solid all day long. Giants don't have much on the offensive side of the football. I'm not going to lie to you. After the very first defensive snap of the game, I said, oh, hell, well, Evan Ingram, go ahead and put him down for 115 tonight. Evan Ingram had 2 catches for 30 yards in this game. 21 of them coming on the very first offensive snap of the day for the Giants. He was not a factor in this game. Now, was that by design? Did we take him away? I can't commit to that. I don't know if Daniel Jones was necessarily looking for him, but I'll take it. I will take it. So, there's another bit of news that I want to get to now. And we should have talked about this yesterday, but I was so enthralled, so captivated by the Julio Jones and John Ross discussion that I really wanted to get to that yesterday. And also, I wanted to talk about that offensive film. So I kind of got lost in the sauce. This topic here got lost in the sauce. So I need to take care of some business that should have been addressed yesterday. Looks like the team is going to hold on to Washington football team for at least one more year, maybe even longer. This makes me nervous. Now, I don't know if this is them trying to make sure they cross all of their T's and dot all of their I's when they do decide to go to something else. And that could be the case. They could be trying to get a hold of all trademarks, kind of figure out what the new logo is going to look like, get everything sorted out, go through a couple of rough drafts on how you want the jerseys to look, if they're going to make any sweeping changes, which I doubt. There are a lot of things that go into this. Most of it from a trademark standpoint, copyright, all of that stuff standpoint. Just want to make sure everything is legalized and legitimized before you roll it out. It's a process. So could that be the reason they're delaying this an extra year? Possibly. Or they could be getting really comfortable with Washington football team. This is the fear that they get extremely lazy because it's the easy thing to do. They've already got a website. They've already got the logo. They've already got everything trademarked for the most part. They've got jerseys. They've got helmets. Everybody seems to love the helmets. They got a look. They got a new end zone. Everything seems to be already set up. Thus, it's really easy to just say, you know what? If it's not broken, why fix it? We'll see what happens. I don't want to be the football team moving forward. I've established that. I've already explained that to you guys, so I don't really need to harp on that any longer. I don't want to be the football team. I don't mind being the football team for 2 or 3 years. I don't want this to be a permanent existence, however. So I'm hoping they're working behind the scenes very feverishly to get us a brand new name. I surmise, however, that that is not the case and that they're leaning towards making this the permanent name of this team. We will see. Only time will tell. But as of right now, it's just for next year. And you know what? That's fine. Don't have to tell me if it's going to be for the next 20, 50, or 100 years. Just tell me it's for a year. And if next year you decide it's permanent, then you tell me then. At least give me hope that there's a change still a-coming. So that was a little bit of news yesterday. That's some pretty damn big news that came out via Washington football team president Jason Wright, who was speaking to a radio station and disclosed that information. So looks like we'll be the Washington football team next year after all. We'll see what happens. Anyway, I digress. Let's move on to in other news. So, got a couple of super chats. I want to get to those, and then we will continue on. Got a super chat here from Door Gunner. Thank you for the super chat, Door Gunner. Greatly appreciate you. As always, my man Door Gunner writes, Dallas has a Tekashi 6'9" on their roster. LOL. At this point, we are not allowed to make fun of anybody's roster. We have 3 healthy wide receivers right now, and we're going to be playing with practice squad guys more likely than not on Sunday. God forbid anything happens to any of the healthy receivers that we do have during the course of the game. We could look like the Giants on Sunday. Remember, they came into the game with 4 healthy bodies at receiver. 1 gets injured and carted off the field. They were down to 3. Slayton on the touchdown grab turns his ankle. He had already come into the game with a bad foot injury, and so he was hobbling around and barely finished the game. They were almost down to 2 healthy bodies at receiver, and we were talking about that in the community. Again, if you're not a part of the MOBB, stand up. Mob Squad in the building. If you're not a part of the Mob Squad community, on Flick. Come on, guys. What are you waiting on? Again, it's free. It's an easy way to chop it up amongst other fans like yourself who care dearly about this team. You may have different motives. You may want Kyle Allen to not play well so you can feel good about wanting Dwayne back in the lineup, even though that's not going to happen. You could be watching because you want this team to lose so you can get to 1-15 to get Trevor Lawrence. Whatever the case may be, I may not agree with you, but you're still family. Come join us. Come watch the game with us. Come chop it up with us during the course of the week. When news hits and we're talking, come join us. We'd love to have you. Like I said, we've got polls. I'm going to draft up a quiz. I want to test your Redskin fandom or your Washington football fandom. Hell, we could call it Redskins too because it's going to go back a little ways as well. Some of y'all are some damn cheaters too. I know you're going to go to Google and try to find the answers. I'm going to try to give you some stuff that Google ain't going to be able to help you on. Test your knowledge on this team. Go back a little ways. Anyway, there's a lot that goes into these communities and groups, and the more the merrier. Can't wait for more of you guys to join. I appreciate all of you who are already a part of the Mob Squad. But when we were talking about the different transactions that Washington made, you look at Robert Foster. That was a guy that they signed off the Green Bay practice squad. A lot of the people in the community were excited. And I had to tell them, pump the brakes, because this guy looked like he had NFL wide receiver written all over him after the 2018 season with Buffalo. And I watched him that year, and I thought, man, they got themselves a steal here. This guy looks like he can really play some ball. And then nothing in 2019. They went out and drafted a bunch of guys and added Stephon Diggs in 2020, and now he was an afterthought, got cut, and he ended up on Green Bay's practice squad. We snatch him up. He's probably not going to be available on Sunday because of the COVID protocols and all the things he would have to go through to be ready. He's not going to be ready more likely than not. That's the word out on the street right now. So we're going to have to roll with the 2 practice squad cats that we had from earlier in the season. One being, and I brought him up, and this is the guy that I'm most excited to see, and I brought him up in the community, was the ex-Oklahoma wide receiver, and I think he was the number 3 or 4 overall pick in the XFL draft, Jeff Badette. Guy can fly. I mean, I'm anxious to see him because he had something that none of these other guys do, and that's an element of true speed. And you can do something with that. It's not hard to get the guy a ball on a jet sweep. 4.27 is 4.27. So, if you get it to him on a jet sweep, he gets a seam, he can go. Guy can fly. It's not hard to get him the ball on a wide. Hell, we run the hell out of some wide receiver screens. You get Jeff Badette a wide receiver screen, and you block a couple of dudes, he can do the rest. So I'm anxious to see him. As far as the other guy from Colorado, something Brown, I think his name is. Okay, cool. Well, I guess. You're not going to get me super excited about practice squad guys. They were on the practice squad for a reason. However, again, speed does get me excited because you don't have to do much with speed. You here, take ball, run straight. Hopefully we block and you don't have to do anything else. Just run straight really, really fast. And against Dallas's defense, a lot of guys have been running straight, really, really fast for a really, really long time for a lot of points. So I'm hoping that we can get one of our speedsters to run in a straight line and we can get it to him. I don't know if that's going to take place because we don't seem to know how to push the football down the field, but that's not going to stop me from hoping. So I'm not going to make fun of anybody's I'm not going to make fun of anybody's roster right now. Nobody else's shortcomings or misgivings because we've got our own set of issues at the receiver position. So anyway, I digress. Thank you for the super chat, Door Gunner. Extra Squaw. Thank you for the super chat, Extra Squaw. Greatly appreciate you. Extra Squaw writes, Ron is starting to concern me. Understand that he has cancer, but he's constantly contradicting himself to the point where I'm tuning him out. Too early? I'm not going to lie to you. First of all, I like Ron Rivera a lot. And I think he's a hell of a football coach. So I'm not going to stop supporting him. On the other hand, I do understand where you're coming from. I listened to his press conference today. And I said, Ron, you just contradicted yourself again. And this is why I say, Ron, stop talking so damn much. Because the more you talk, the more you can contradict yourself. And so that's the frustrating part about Ron is he just doesn't know when to say when sometimes. And, you listen to some of his earlier answers in the season, and then you listen to some of the things he's saying now, and you're like, Ron, that's not what you said earlier, bruh. And then he gets mad when you challenge him on it. And he's like, look, this is what I said. And you're like, no, actually, Ron, that's not what you said. He reminds me of my dad. When I was growing up, I used to say, I wish I had a tape recorder and I could record all of our conversations. Because you say things, and then when I bring them back up to you, you dismiss me as if you never said them. Or you contradict yourself and try to make me seem crazy like you didn't say it when I know you did. That's what Ron's doing right now. And I can't lie to you. It is a little frustrating. But honestly, I don't care. I'm not going to lie to you. I care about what the guys in the locker room think and what product they're putting out on the field. That's what I care about most. He is very confusing. At times, I don't think Ron even remembers what the hell he said. And that's the problem. That's why you have to keep it short and sweet. They used to always say, and a wise woman once told me, when you lie, it's hard to keep up a lie because you have to remember what you said. And this is why when I watch First 48 and you see the interrogation of some of these suspects, you know when they're lying because their story changes and their inconsistencies. It's hard to keep up a lie because you got to remember what you said the first time. If you're telling the truth, you don't have to continue to try to worry about what you said the first time. You just tell them what you saw. You just tell them what you know. But when you are consistently lying, you got to remember, well, how did I phrase the lie the last time? Or what exactly was it that I said? Can you refresh my memory? And I'm not saying that Ron's a liar. I'm not calling him a liar. I just think he's talking too damn much. And sometimes I think he forgets what he said. And when they bring it up to him, he's like, you sure I said that? Yeah, Ron. I wrote it right here in my notepad. I got it right here. I can play it back for you. And he's like, no. This is what I meant. And he's just talking in circles and like, Ron, just put a sock in it, Ron. Okay? Answer the question concisely and move on. I don't think he's capable of doing it. And you know what? I'm fine with that. I used to make fun of old man Callahan last year because he loved to talk. And these pressers were so long. And then I used to make fun of Manusky because Manusky, you could tell, wanted no parts of these pressers on Thursdays last year. He wanted no parts of them. They would be literally 3 minutes long. And Manusky would say the same two phrases. We got to communicate better. We got to be better. And that's all you were going to get out of Greg Manusky. And you're like, get this guy the hell out of here. He's useless. Even his interviews are useless. So there's a happy medium is essentially what I'm trying to get to. And I understand where you're coming from, Extra Squad, because I see it. I see it. I listen to it. I hear it. And I'm like, Ron. But it is what it is. I'm going to ride with him, though. I'm going to ride with him. But I can understand how you could want to get out of the car right now with Ron driving. I can see how you could want to get out of the car. I'm going to keep riding with him, though. I got my safety belt on. If we crash, I'm going to make sure I don't go through the front windshield. I'll be all right. Got an airbag. Got my seatbelt on. I feel comfortable. I'm going to ride with him. But you can get out. I understand if you want to get out because he's swerving all over the place. If I didn't know better, I would think he had a couple to drink. So don't worry. I'll ride with him. I'll let you know how it goes. Got another super chat. This one is from Door Gunner. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Door Gunner. Greatly appreciate you. As always, my man Door Gunner writes, if we can't push the ball this week, we never will. D-line better be living in that backfield. Dallas has all kinds of backups on their O-line. Hashtag mob squad for life. Just want to give a slight amendment to the hashtag. It's 2 B's, not 1. Okay, so if you're going to hashtag mob squad, make sure 2 B's, guys and gals. 2 B's. Mob, M-O-B-B. That's why I say M-O-B-B. 2 B's. But I agree. Now, here's the thing. I don't want you guys assuming that because Dallas is so trash, because this is the trap that you can fall into because they played on Monday night. See, a lot of you, if Dallas would have just gotten their asses whooped, this is why I'm a big advocate. Don't put me on Monday night. Don't put me on Thursday night. Don't put me on Sunday night. I don't need the rest of the world until we get our shit together. Until we're a credible football team, a credible outfit. Don't put me on any of these major games on national television. I don't need it. Because it's one thing to get your ass beaten in peace at 1 o'clock. When everybody's focused on their team and what they got going on, yeah, you may look down at the crawl at the bottom of the screen, or you may look up at the corner and you may see, man, Dallas is getting their ass whooped. But you don't actually know what's happening. You just know they're getting their ass whooped. And then after the game, you might watch a highlight or two, but that's the extent of what's going to happen there. You're going to say, man, Dallas got their ass whooped. They stink. When you actually get to see it, You're like, man, these guys are super trash. Their offensive line is garbage. They can't stop anybody. And you're like, you're getting excited. They're turning the ball over. Man, these guys are super trash. We should beat them. Stop. Stop right there. We are super trash. Okay? I can't reiterate this until we start winning and stop doing. I think we're a better team than everybody in this division. And I mean that. And I know that sounds crazy, and you guys are going to kill me in the comment section, and I'm okay with that. I watched the film, and I don't know why I do this to myself every week, but I convince myself I know we're not a good team. Let me start there. Scott Turner had the line of the day where he says, we've got to be better. Not confusing that with good, but we have to be better. He's right. Our better, and when I say this, you got to take it in the context of what I'm speaking about. We're the best of the worst, I think. Me, personally. I'm not saying we're good. I'm just telling you, I think we're better than everybody else in this division. Problem is, we make too many damn mistakes. Now, I think the Cowboys have the best talent, but they're coached by a buffoon. And they have a ton of injuries. They're not the same team that I told you is the most talented team, not just in the NFC East, not just in the NFC, but potentially in the entire league. They're not the same team. Injuries have ravaged them. They're a different group right now. And they're being coached by a guy that I have zero respect for in Mike McCarthy. So when I look at that team, I'm not afraid. When I look at the Giants, I love their head coach, Joe Judge. I think he's going to be an excellent NFL head coach. But when I look at their roster, it's laughable. It's laughable. We just lost to them. I look at the Eagles. They've got a guy that's too smart for his own good in Doug Peterson. Wants to go for two every single time he gets an opportunity to. Even when it doesn't make any sense. Even when analytics is like, hey, Doug, this is kind of dumb. He's like, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to go for two. The Eagles are just as banged up as anybody else in the league. I look at all these teams and I say, we're better than these teams. We can beat these teams. Doesn't mean we're good. Just means we're better than them. That's how I feel. But when we make the type of mistakes that we make, you're not going to beat anybody. So I said all of that to say this. While Dallas has a bunch of backups on their offensive line, while Dallas can't stop a nosebleed defensively, they can't stop a they can't even bust through a wet paper bag right now on the defensive side of the football. Don't think for 1 second we just show up and do, and this is what I had to really hammer home during the game in the community on Monday. I had to hammer home the point. We're not the Arizona Cardinals. We're not even remotely close to being the Arizona Cardinals. So don't think that we're going to have a Buda Baker running all over the field and forcing fumbles and creating sacks and getting to the Cowboys and picking off passes. He did everything in that game. We don't have one of those. We don't have anything that even looks close to a Buda Baker. We don't have Kyler Murray at quarterback, okay? We don't have all of the talent that the Cardinals have collectively. So don't think we're going to just go and put up 35 points against a team that can't seem to stop anybody from scoring 35 points. Because when's the last time we scored 35 points? Again, you got to go back to last year for that. I think if I had to guess, I would guess it was that Giants game that we went to overtime with the Giants. I think that was a 41-35 game, something like that. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember. I just know this. We're not great defensively. We are borderline anemic offensively. Even though I feel like we're getting better, it's still not showing up on the scoreboard. Don't just think we're going to dominate Dallas just because they stink. Because we stink too. I just have to reiterate that. Anyway, thank you for the super chat, Dory Gunner, and thank you for doubling up. My man Barrett Downing, thank you for the super chat. BD, greatly appreciate you as always. BD writes, sorry, Lou, but I do not want to be the Washington football team past this year. So I'm keeping hope alive. Respect, brother. Barrett, it doesn't look like we have a choice, my man. Sounds like it's pretty much etched in stone. Jason Wright came out and said, looks like we're going to be the Washington football team next year as well. So I don't think this is something that is optional. Don't think that this is something that they're continuing to work on to have it change before the start of next year. I think they've already went into the thought process of we need to have this ready if we're going to change it, or even if we're going to keep this permanently, we need to be working towards making a decision on what's going to happen after the 2021 season. So I don't think we're have a choice in this one, BD. I think we're going to be the Washington football team next year as well. I'm with you. I would prefer not to be, but I don't think we have a choice. JP, thank you for the super chat. As always, my man John Perez writes, man, I don't want to be the football team for the rest of time. Either give us Red Wolves or bring back the Redskin name. Well, I can tell you one thing. The latter of that comment, not happening. No way, no how. Okay, they're never going back to Redskins. But Red Wolves is in the mix. I don't think we're going to be the Red Wolves, though, if I had to guess. But we'll see what happens. I don't want to be the Washington football team for the rest of eternity either. I'm with you. I would much rather have a different name than that. I just would. But, you know, if we ended up being the football team, at this point, I wouldn't even care. You know, I wouldn't. It wouldn't be something that I would be outraged about. But I would like it to be something else, personally. Thank you for the super chat, JP. Got another super chat. This one is from my man Jamal Long. Thank you for the super chat, Jamal Long. Greatly appreciate you. Jamal writes, what's the big obsession with winning the division and missing out on a high draft pick? I saw a meme with the division leaders and everyone in the comments clowned us. The division leader was 2-4. I saw an even worse meme today, Jamal. And it wasn't even a meme. It was a post. Someone sent it to me on IG. Somebody DM'd me on IG, and I appreciate this. And I love when you guys DM me. I do. On IG, on Flick, on the app, on Twitter, wherever. You know, I love seeing it. And when you comment in the comment section, I love reading those. Anytime I can have interaction with you guys, I love it. So keep it coming. Sometimes you send me things that I don't see. I told you, I don't see everything. So if you see something, you think it's funny or you think it's interesting, send it my way. I don't mind sorting through, even if it's trash. I don't mind sorting through it. Okay? So somebody sent me a DM earlier. I wasn't saying today or yesterday. And it was a picture of Kyle Allen getting hit on the 2-point conversion. And it said, Washington, and I brought this up on the podcast today, which is why I love the NFL. Because in no other sport can you make this statement and have it be true and not be crazy. Okay? So the statement said on this post with the picture of Kyle Allen getting hit on the 2-point conversion as the ball was being helplessly, led to the ground. It said, the Washington football team is 1 game out of first place in their division and 1 game out of having the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. How is this possible? We have the 2nd pick. If the draft started tomorrow, we would be the 2nd pick in the draft. I did this on my podcast already, so I don't need to do this again. We're the number 2 pick in the draft right now, only trailing the Jets, who are winless, and I don't think they're going to win a game anytime soon. But if we beat Dallas on Sunday and the Eagles lose to the Giants, well, we're back in first place. Hey, go get them, guys. So it's crazy to me that you could be that close to the playoffs and yet that close to the number 1 pick in the draft. That was hilarious to me. Somebody sent that to me, and I want to thank you for sending me that. Here's my obsession with winning the division and not getting a high draft pick. I want to win. And I understand that winning is relative in terms of what do you define as winning? 6-10, winning the division. Are you happy about that? No, I'm not happy about winning the division at 6-10, but I'm happy about winning the division. I don't give a shit at what it is. If we won the division at 2-14, I'd be like, hey, we won the damn division. I don't give a damn what y'all talking about. We won the damn division. You can clown me all you want. Don't let me beat your ass in the playoffs then. Talk all that shit. But if we get to the playoffs and we beat your ass, I don't want to hear shit. Because the year that we clowned Carolina when they went 7-8-1, oh, I was at the front of the jokes. I had the pitchfork. I had the torch. I was leading the charge. Oh my God, how could you let this team in? The NFL has to do something. These guys are a disgrace. You know what they did? They beat the goddamn Arizona Cardinals that year in the first round. I did the same thing when the Seahawks got in the playoffs. I think they were a losing team that year as well. And that was the Beastquake game versus the Saints. I really think they were like 7-8-1 that year, or they were 7-9 or something like that. And I was talking all this shit. Oh man, they so trash. You can't let them in. They got in and they won. So look, I said all of that to say this. My obsession with wanting to win the division versus getting a draft pick is as follows. I want to win. And I want to win the division. You know what would be the worst thing that could happen? And I'm okay with that if it does. I'm one of these let the chips fall where they may type of guys. I know a lot of you rather just lose and ensure that you have a high draft pick. I rather win as many games as possible and just let the chips fall where they may. Here's the worst thing that could happen to us. We win 7 games and somehow don't win the division. Highly unlikely. I don't see this team winning 7 games. I don't. Which is why I don't think we're going to ultimately win the division. Because I still, even though this sounds crazy and you look at this division and it's crazy, somebody's going to win 7 games in this division. Somebody's going to do it. I don't know who. Don't ask me. I can't tell you. Somebody's going to win 7 games. Because somebody's going to mop up the division. Somebody's going to go 5-1, at worst, 4-2 in the division. The only team that still has a chance to go undefeated in the division, and I've already explained this, is Dallas. We have a chance to stop them from even thinking about that on Sunday. If they beat us, they're a third of the way home of sweeping the division, which is what it's going to possibly take to win this division, is to take care of business in the division, because the games outside the division are so tough. We play the AFC North, which collectively might be the best division in football because you got 2 5-win teams and a 4-win team. And we play the NFC West, which may be the other best division in football, which has a undefeated 5-0 team, a 4-win Rams team. Granted, all 4 of their wins came against this division. Still, it's 4-2. Got to respect it. A 3-3 49ers team and another 4-win team in the Arizona Cardinals. So again, another really well put together division. We play those 2 divisions. So we're going to get mopped. So the only chances you really have are your division games and the 2 games that everybody tells you, oh, those 2 games don't make a big difference. They're just 2 different games. Everybody's got the same schedule, just 2 different games, and those 2 games don't really matter. Bullshit. The difference between winning this division at 7-9 and losing it at 6-10 may be the fact that we get to play the Lions and the Eagles got to play Green Bay. Or that we get to play the Lions and the Cowboys has to play the Vikings. That may be the difference in us winning the division and somebody else in the division winning the division. Don't tell me that those games don't make a difference, because they do. The difference between them winning it and us winning it, the Eagles have to play the Saints. The Cowboys have to play the Falcons. They already did. They beat them. They should have lost. We get to play the Panthers. May not be an easy game. Not as easy as we thought it was going to be, but I'd much rather take my chance at the Panthers than the Saints. Or hell, you thought you were getting a pass when you said, oh, we got Tampa. Not anymore. Hey, good luck with that, New York. You're going to need it. Good luck with that one. We don't have to play Tampa. We get Carolina. That's the difference between us winning a division or losing a division, potentially. So my obsession with winning the division is I just want to win. I want guys to have a taste of what it feels like to win, go to the playoffs. They need to taste that. They need to understand what it feels like. At this level, not at Ohio State, not at Alabama, but at the NFL level. And if you keep losing, guys don't understand. That's why we make the mistakes that we're making, because we're losers. The winning teams, when it's winning time, they find a way to make winning plays. When you're a losing outfit, you find ways to give it away to the teams that ultimately are the winners. I'm trying to get us out of that thought process of it's okay to lose to try to upgrade through the draft. You want to keep doing that for another 20 years? How's that worked out for us? We can't pick a second round pick to save our damn lives. What difference does it make if we're picking 1 and 33? Or if we're picking 17 and 50? Does it matter? If you're still not picking good players? What difference does it make? I want to win. So shoot me for wanting to win. Thank you for the super chat, Jamal. Got another super chat here from my man, Derek B. Thank you for the super chat, Derek B. Greatly appreciate you. My man, Derek writes, Dwayne Haskins bench now, all the warts on O show up in film. I disagree. I disagree with that. Look, there's some things that Kyle Allen missed on Sunday. I'm not going to sit here and act like it wasn't. But there were some things that he did that I know for a fact Dwayne wouldn't have done. And you know it too, which is why you sent me what you sent me. I'm going to read what you sent me. I found it very interesting. And this is my man, Derek B., who just super chatted. I'm going to read you what he sent me on Patreon. He DM'd me on Patreon, and this is what he said. He wants to make a deal with me. I like his deal. I want to make a slight amendment to it, though, but hold on. Let me read you what he wrote. He says, Lou, thought of a way to settle our disagreement regarding Kyle Allen. I think Allen is the best quarterback for this team. Derek doesn't. He thinks Dwayne should be in. And I, too, think that Dwayne, if you believe in him, which they don't, so there's no reason to continue on with that charade. They don't like Dwayne. They don't believe in him. They want to move on from him. That's their prerogative. If that's what they're going to do, no need in wasting any more time with him getting reps. Anyway, he says, the Cowboys' trashy D is giving up 36 points a game over the first 6 games of the season. I'm not even going to ask for that number. He says, I will concede that Allen gives us the best chance to win. Aha! 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 That's all I was looking for. That's all I ever said. I didn't say Kyle Allen was a bona fide NFL starting quarterback. I just said he gives us the best chance to win. He says, I will concede that Allen gives us the best chance to win if the offense scores at least 28 points in a victory on Sunday. So he only will admit this, even though we had the ball 8 times and only punted once for the first time all season. Now, I get it. Only 19 points. I'm aware. But we moved the football and we kept this defense off the field. Something we haven't been able to do all season long. And don't tell me that the Giants stink, because their defense was ranked 6th in the league coming into the game. The Giants, if they do nothing else, play defense. So I don't want to hear that we haven't played anybody without Dwayne. All right. Now, he says, that's one more point than the Dubs scored with Dwayne in the win against the Eagles. We scored 27 in week 1. If we lose and the offense scores less than 28, you join me in killing the Allen narrative and agree that Dwayne should be reinserted into the lineup. If we score less than 28 and win, then it's a wash and we keep the debate going. He then says, I forgot one scenario. If we score more than 28 and still lose, that's a win for me too, because the best that Allen can do is go the same 1-4 that Dwayne went, but with a much weaker schedule. Agreed? So, let me say this. I won't kill Allen even if we don't score 28. And I wouldn't be shocked if we don't score 28 this week. We literally have 3 healthy wide receivers out there. And not that when we had 5 healthy, we were killing it. So now that you tell me we're down to our last 3 guys that were here during training camp for the whole entire training camp, you really expect me to commit to a 28-point outburst from this offense? Are you kidding me? No way I could sign up for that. However, I'm not going to agree that Dwayne should be back in the lineup. They don't like him, Derek. They don't like him. They don't want him. They don't like his practice habits. They don't like what he's done since getting the job. They said they loved him in the offseason. They loved his work ethic. And the minute he got the job, he turned into the Dwayne last year that everyone was criticizing for not working hard enough. And they said, you know what? We're not dealing with that. Okay. What do you want to do? All right. We're not there every day. These are the guys that are. And I'll tell you this, though. If we struggle offensively, and let's say struggling means we scored 20, and we look really bad, and the only reason we got to 20 is because the defense created a turnover in a short field, or they scored themselves on the defensive side of the football, then I may concede that this offense isn't much better like I think it is. I think it's much better with Kyle Allen in there, personally. And I think the film kind of backs that up. We just didn't finish drives on Sunday. That was the biggest problem. And I told you guys that. Got to finish drives. I listed all the drives: 11 play, 12 play, 14 play, another 13 play, another 11. Got to finish these drives. And I'll tell you this much. The schedule being weaker, I don't necessarily subscribe to that either, because we didn't know what those teams were going to be when Dwayne played them. The Browns didn't even know they were the Browns when we played them. They were 1-1, and the only team they had beaten was Cincinnati. They got whooped in week 1. We didn't know the Browns were any good then. They didn't even know they were good. They were still trying to find themselves. We could have won that game if Dwayne didn't piss all over himself, and if the defense didn't decide that they were going to give up a touchdown every time the offense turned it over. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting. My man, Derek B., we have these discussions all the time. I appreciate you. He says, all the warts on O are showing up now that Dwayne is benched. I don't agree with that. You know I don't agree with that. Thank you for the super chat, Derek B. Damn Twin Shorty Sublime. Thank you for the super chat. As always, Damn Twin writes, John Ross, D.D. Westbrook, Will Fuller, and Marvin Jones may be available. How likely are we to make a move, and do you have a preference in any of them? The only one of those guys that I would seriously think about giving up any real draft capital for is Will Fuller. Now, again, Ross and Fuller are dynamic, but they're both injury risk. They've both been banged up throughout the course of their career. The Texans aren't moving Will Fuller. Like, to me, after moving on from DeAndre Hopkins, he's the last guy you got. They're going to re-sign him. I don't think he's going in. You can't take every weapon away from Deshaun Watson and expect him to perform at a high level. Will Fuller was the best Texan on the field, not named Deshaun Watson, on Sunday. 6 catches, 123 yards, and a touchdown. They're not trading Will Fuller. So I don't even consider him available. D.D. Westbrook, I'm not a D.D. Westbrook fan. Take him out of the mix. John Ross and Marvin Jones are the only two left. Marvin Jones, I think after this year, he's a free agent. I think he's going to be 31, 32 years old, somewhere in that neighborhood. I know this much. He broke into the league with the Bengals, spent all 4 years there, got a contract from the Lions. I think it was a 4-year deal. That's 8 years in the league. Let's say that Marvin Jones came into the league as a 23-year-old. No, that's a little old. Let's call him a 22-year-old. He's 30. Worst, that's best case scenario. He's 30 next year. Maybe he's turning 31. Doesn't fit our timeline. John Ross is the only guy that I'm really interested in. I don't want to give up anything for him, though. Unless, again, I told you my scenario. You allow me to trade Dwayne straight up, I'm for it. Or if you say, hey, look, man, I don't want much. I'm starving over here. This is the only trade bait I got. Tell you what, you give me a half pint of Hawaiian Punch. All right? And I don't want any of those freaky flavors. Not glacier, grape, or none of that shit. I just want ruby red. The fruit juice ruby red. Just a half pint of that with a straw. He's yours. You tell me that, which is the equivalent of a 6th or a 7th round pick. I go after John Ross in a heartbeat. But if they're playing hardball like, hey, This is a first round pick we spend on this guy. We want a third. Well, you hold on to John then. You hold on to him. You hold on to John. You let somebody else do that. I'm not doing that. I'd listen to a fifth, but it's conditional. A fifth is. He's got to play a certain amount of games, and he's got to be, I guess the games thing would be the one that would be the condition that I would, if I'm Cincinnati, I would agree to. I'm not doing the yards or any of that stuff. If I'm Washington, it's a conditional fifth. It's a sixth rounder that can turn into a fifth if he plays in 10 or more games. If you get that, then you say, all right, you can have my fifth round pick. But of those guys, the only one that I really would want is Ross, because Fuller to me isn't realistic. If I could get Will Fuller, I want him, and it's not even close. But I don't think he's available. Thank you for the super chat, Damn Twin Shorty Sublime. Let's see. I got any more super chats? And I got one here from JP. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, JP. As always, greatly appreciate you. John Perez writes, why is Del Rio dropping Chase into coverage on third downs? Great question. A lot of the elite rushers around the league drop into coverage every so often on third downs. It's a different look for the defense because when the offensive line sets their protection, they're setting it with the assumption that Chase Young is a known rusher. So you're assuming most of the time, let's just go with our team in particular. You're assuming if Washington comes to the line of scrimmage on a 3rd and 7 with 4 down linemen and you got 2 backers mugging the A-gap, so it looks like 6 guys potentially are coming. As you set your protection, you're setting it with the known rushers. The known rushers are all the guys you've identified as guys that you know are coming on this play. For us, the known rushers are the 90 jersey numbers. So 99, 90, 93, 94, or 97 if he's in the game. Those are your known rushers. Guys that you know, no matter what, they're coming on this play. If 91's in the game, he's a known rusher. So you're accounting for that guy in your protection scheme. So when you start shifting your line one way or the other, you're shifting it with the thought process that this guy is coming. So that offensive lineman is thinking, I got to block 99. So he's not looking to block 53 or 54. That's somebody else's job. Or maybe it's nobody else's job and the quarterback has to get rid of it. So when they snap the ball, let's say the 2 guys mugging the A-gap do come. And Chase drops out. Now that right tackle or that left tackle, whomever he's playing over, has nobody to block. And now somebody's coming scot-free with a guy that isn't doing anything on the play because his assignment was to block 99. That's why you do that. I give you a great example. If you're watching the film, I uploaded, that was on the first half film, yeah. I uploaded the first half defensive film from the Giants game. Again, this is why you got to be on Patreon so you know the answers to some of these things. They dropped Chase Young on a 3rd down on the first possession of the game. Giants end up settling for a field goal. It looked like a 6-man pressure. We ultimately came with 4. They threw it to the running back out of the backfield. And it ended up being a completion in the first down. But if you didn't know any better, you would have thought Evan Ingram is uncovered in the slot. He's going to be wide open. Well, they dropped Chase Young right underneath his slant route. He wasn't open. Daniel Jones had to throw it to the running back. Now, he was going to throw it to the running back anyway. But that's why you drop Chase Young. I'm not saying that's something you want to do all the time. And that's not something that Jack Del Rio is doing all the time. Okay? But every now and again, he's dropping Chase Young into coverage. And you see that. You see Khalil Mack dropping into coverage every now and again. You see some of the elite edge rushers off the edge, Von Miller, when he was healthy, dropping into coverage from time to time. You got to mix it up. But at the same time, you want your guy going forward more times than you want him dropping backwards. Thank you for the super chat, JP. Got another super chat here from Damn Twin Shorty Sublime. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Damn Twin Shorty Sublime. Greatly appreciate you. Damn Twin writes, Didi Westbrook, LOL, sorry for the typo. Double me up. I knew what you meant. I knew exactly what you meant. That's why I read right through that. I knew exactly who you were talking about. It's all good, and I doubled you up anyway. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for the super chat. Damn Twin Shorty Sublime. JP tripling up. Greatly appreciate you, JP. Thank you so much for tripling up. JP writes, does Kyle Trask from Florida intrigue you? Yes, he does. Now, he's not the athlete that all these other guys are, but he's not afraid to run. And that's key, because some of these guys that are pocket passers don't want to get out of the pocket. And in today's NFL, you got to be able to get out of the pocket. He's not a tremendous athlete, but he's showing me some things. I will tell you this. When I look at Kyle Trask, I see a guy that is getting better. And the more he plays, the more confidence he gains, similar to Joe Burrow. Now, I'm not saying he's Burrow because he's not the athlete that Burrow is. I don't even know if he has the same arm talent that Burrow has. But I got to watch more of Kyle Trask. But the little that I've seen from last year and into this year, I see a guy that's gaining confidence. And the more confidence that he gains, the better he becomes. So I am intrigued by Kyle Trask. I am. Thank you for the super chat, JP. Got a super chat here from Joe Halen. Thank you for the super chat, Joe Halen. Greatly appreciate you. Joe says, I'm with you, Lou. Riding with Ron. It's hard to curb my enthusiasm for this week. We can get this dub. I do feel like we can get this dub. I sincerely do. I'm not guaranteeing a damn thing, though. I'm always a little bit more fearful of teams when they come off such a poor performance, like the one the Cowboys did when everybody got to see it. And so now the prevailing thought is, oh, the Cowboys are in peril, and they are so bad that they're going to lose. And I don't like this position we're being put in as the favorites now all of a sudden. I don't like that, because they still technically have more talent than we do. They're still capable of scoring 40 at any given moment. We're not capable of getting into a shootout with anybody, including the Cowboys, even though they can't stop anybody. And they welcome a shootout. I don't want to get into a shootout with them. I'm nervous about this game, but I'm nervous about every game. So what does that even mean? I just know whatever happens, I'm going to ride with Ron. He just got here. We want him to change the culture, but yet everybody's bailing on him at the first sight of trouble. That's why the culture is what it is. As a fan base, we are a part of the toxicity of this organization. Because when shit goes wrong, the first thing that we do is we bail. We don't stick around and try to figure out what's going wrong and how can we be a part of the solution. F Ron. I'm done with Ron. Let's get Ron the hell out of here. Then you start over again. Then you allow all of the toxicity to continue to fester. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. At some point, you got to put your own 2 feet down on the ground solidly and say, this is what we stand for. And I think Ron is trying to do that. He may be a little bit misguided in how he delivers that message to everybody else. As long as he is delivering the message clearly to his players, that's all I care about. He's not doing a good job of delivering it to us or the media, but as long as the players understand the message, that's all I care about. At the end of the day, as long as they understand, I'm good. I'm Gucci. If they don't, and they're just as confused as we are, now we got a problem. Thank you for the super chat, Joe Halen. Got a super chat here from DMV Fan 123. Greatly appreciate you, DMV Fan 123, who writes, which approach do you prefer team building? Draft quarterback and build around him, or build the core of the team and plug in QB? Fan base seems to be split. I am a huge proponent of the latter. Build the core of the team and then you plug in the quarterback. Now, here's the thing. In order to do the former, which is draft the quarterback, build around him, you gotta hit rock bottom as a team in the standings. We've never quite done that except for last year, where we had a chance to draft a quarterback. We instead elected to go with a defender because we thought we had the quarterback of the future. I don't blame them for that. Now, in retrospect, hindsight is 2020. If you know what you know about Dwayne now, would you have changed it? For me, I prefer Chase Young because that's a part of what I just said, that latter scenario of building the core. Chase Young is a part of the core moving forward. Again, the reason Seattle is to me the perfect example of what you want to do. Not everybody, first of all, they got a hell of a GM and a hell of a coach. We don't know if we have that yet. I like Kyle Smith a lot. I like Ron Rivera a lot. I don't know if we have that here. However, in 2012, you know what they said? We're going to go out and we're going to sign Matt Flynn in free agency. Pay him a bunch of money to come in here and be our starting quarterback because we think we're ready to win now. They had drafted Dick Sherman and Cam Chancellor and Earl Thomas already, and they were ready to go. They were ready to go. Defensively, they had Cliff Averill and Michael Bennett and all of these guys defensively. They were ready to go. Offensively, they were still trying to figure some things out. But they had a couple of pieces on that football team, but they weren't where they needed to be. But they had Marshawn Lynch, and that was good enough. And they felt good about their football team. And they said, we're a quarterback away from competing right now. And they had done everything they needed to do. And they let all of this cook while Tavares Jackson was the quarterback. They let all of this cook. They got all of these groceries, and they started cooking it while Tavares Jackson was the quarterback. And then they said, all right, Tavares, meal's almost done. You got to go home. You can't eat with us. All right? Tavares is like, but I helped you make this. No, we had an agreement. You were going to help us prepare this, but you weren't going to stay to eat. Get your things, Tavares. Put your jacket on. There's the front door. You got to go. They say, hey, Flynn, you come in. You take Tavares' seat. He says, he sits down at the table, puts his napkin in his neck, grabs his fork. He says, man, this looks good. And right when he cuts through that meat, sticks the fork in there and is ready to take that first bite, they said, Hey, Matt, we didn't bless the food yet. Put your fork down. And while they were about to bless the food, they opened up one eye and they looked at each other and they said, you see this guy over here? This young pup? They're like, yeah, we see him. Hey, Matt, snatch the napkin from his neck. Get your ass out of here. Hey, Russ, sit down, man. We think you ready to eat. We got all this food here. We got this nice spread. Sit down. Then they said grace. Russ opened his eyes and said, go Hawks. The rest is history. That's how I want to build my team. I want to build the circumference. I want to build up that radius. And then I want to drop that quarterback right in the middle. And when you do it that way, the guy that you drop in the middle doesn't have to be Aaron Rodgers. It doesn't have to be Russell Wilson. It doesn't have to be Patrick Mahomes. It'd be nice if they turn out to be that, but they don't have to be that guy if you build it the right way. If you start with the quarterback, that means you're starting from the ground up. You're going to go through a lot of growing pains. And you may never ultimately get where you want to go. You may, if that guy turns out to be the guy that you think he is, if you spent the number 1 or the number 2 pick on him overall, and he turns out to be worthy of that number 1, number 2 pick, then you may be able to build something, but it's going to take a lot of time because the reason you are in the position to draft second overall is because you were terrible. And this is not the NBA. You don't have 2 injuries, to David Robinson and you're, a point guard, and all of a sudden you're drafting Tim Duncan and the next year you're winning the NBA title. It doesn't work that way in the NFL. You get the number 2 pick in the draft because you are horrible and you got a lot of work to do. So I would much rather build around and then drop the quarterback in the middle. So that's my philosophy. What's yours? Thank you for the super chat, DMV fan 123. And you're right. The fan base seems to be split. And look, there are so many different ways to skin a cat. There's so many different ways to do this, and nobody knows the exact right or wrong way, okay? There really is no right or wrong way. There's no exact science to this. They're just philosophies, theories. My philosophy happens to be build around, drop quarterback in the middle. Got a super chat here from Ginsu Ru. Thank you, Ginsu Ru, for the super chat, who writes, "We are not tanking for sunshine. I repeat, we are not tanking for sunshine. The Jets will not let that happen. But my eyes are on Sam Darnold." Y'all heard that man loud and clear, right? The Jets are not allowing anybody to get in front of them in this draft. It's not happening. So anybody out there thinking that you can go 1-15 and get Trevor Lawrence, think again. All right. And we're not going 1-15 anyway. That's what it would probably take, because I don't see the Jets winning more than one game. I wouldn't be shocked if they went 0-16. They're that bad. And I've watched every single Jets game this season. They're terrible. They would fit right in with this division. Let's see. Got another super chat here from my man Sean Mack. Man, it's been too long, Sean Mack. My goodness, it's so good to hear from you, my man Sean Mack. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Sean Mack, who writes, "Keep doing your thing. Love the content. #LabRoom fam." Same thing here, bro. Love hearing from you. Hope the family is doing well and you guys are living it up and taking care of yourselves. You stay safe out there. I know you come in contact with a lot of people. Hope you're taking all of the safety precautionary measures necessary to keep you and your family safe. But it's good to hear from you, Sean Mack, as always. Got another super chat. This one is from, let's see where we are. This one is from Clumsy Jedi 26. I think I know where this is going to go. I'm going to read it first. Clumsy Jedi 26, thank you for the super chat, who writes, "Trey Lance is intriguing. Watch his tape ASAP." Okay, that didn't go where I thought it was going to go. I've already watched Trey Lance. I told you that already. I did a video on Trey Lance. 2-3 months ago. I've been out in front of the Trey Lance, all this avalanche of attention that he's getting. I was in front of that last year when he went, 12 or 13, I think 14-0, whatever they went, and he threw 40 touchdown passes or accounted for 40 touchdowns. I think he threw 22 touchdowns and ran for another 18 without a turnover. I already did that. I've already watched the tape. I did a video. I'm going to break his film down at some point. We'll do that a little bit later on when we get to the draft season. So, yeah, I've done that already. Here's the thing. Trey Lance played 1 year of college football. That's it. It's hard for me to think that this guy is ready. Reminds me too much of Mitchell Trubisky and Dwayne Haskins, the last two guys that only played 1 year of college football and then got the nod. That scares me, because if you bring Trey Lance here, he's not sitting down for 2 years. Trey Lance needs to go somewhere where there is a respectable starter that's going to keep him on the bench and keep the mob at bay for at least a year. And the only way you do that is you win. You start losing games and everybody's like, you know what? Get this veteran the hell out of here. I want to see Trey Lance. And he's not ready, I don't think. Now, I will tell you, when you watch his tape, he looks the most pro-ready out of any of these dudes. But that's because he's playing against, the University of Northern Iowa. Now, I will tell you that they do a great job at North Dakota State. It's really a Division I school. It really is. They got all the best facilities. They win the championship every year. They run a pro-style offense. They've gotten 2 quarterbacks to the league in the last 7 years, Wentz and Easton Stick. They understand how to do this. So, essentially what I'm saying to you is, although he's only played 1 year, he's prepared enough to come in and not make an ass out of himself. But I don't know if he's prepared to come in and not be overwhelmed by the NFL game. I would hate to see him get put through the ringer by an NFL franchise that's really clumsy with young quarterbacks. I wonder what organization that could be. Thank you for the super chat, Clumsy Jedi 26. Martin Matthews, thank you for the super chat, Double M. Greatly appreciate you, Martin Matthews, who writes, "Hey Louie, I'm excited to see what happens next week when Terry finally gets a little help. Badette has speed for days and Foster has speed and is a good route runner. What do you think?" So as I mentioned already, Badette will be available, and he has been on the practice squad. So Badette is a little bit further along in terms of the install of the offense and understanding what's going to be asked of him. You still can't put too much on his plate. And offensive coordinator Scott Turner said as much at his presser today. Like, we don't want to overwhelm these guys that we're going to be asking to come in the game and help us. You know, you walk this fine line between, you know, not wanting to overload guys because this is their first time, but also wanting to do enough that you're not too simple for the defense that you're playing against. So you want to be there, this, you know, level of complexity that the defense that you're playing against is facing, so that they're not able to just key in on what you're doing, because guys, you have to dumb it down and make it so simple that the guys that are in there can comprehend. So he's got a tough task on his hands, does Scott Turner. I don't envy him, but Badette has speed. And as I mentioned, against this Cowboys defense, teams have been able to get vertical. They've been able to run really, really fast in a straight line, as we saw Christian Kirk do. Danny Isabella got behind their defense, and Murray just missed him. We'll have opportunities. Will we take advantage of them? Hard to say. We haven't taken advantage of them all year for the most part. So what's there here in terms of evidence to make you think that we're going to take advantage of it this coming Sunday? As for Robert Foster, I don't even think he'll be able to join the team this week because of COVID restrictions and all of the protocols that you have to follow to get a guy from another team to come to your team. I don't think he'll be ready in time to suit up and join this football team. So essentially, I think you're going to be looking at the 5 receivers, the kid from Colorado, Jeff Badette, Cam Sims, Dontrell Inman, and Terry McLaurin. That's it. God forbid anything happen to those guys, because we don't have anything else. We don't have anything else. Now, before we get carried away, I can tell you for a fact, AGG isn't coming back. He's got a hammy. You won't see him in week number 7. Isaiah Wright, on the other hand, has a shoulder injury. Don't know the severity of it. Nobody's told us anything about that. He did not practice on Wednesday. Nobody practices on Wednesday. If you're banged up, you take Wednesday off. You internalize the install, but you don't practice. That's the move around the league. Tomorrow will be a telling day. If he doesn't practice at all, I need Isaiah Wright, if he has any chance of playing, to practice on a limited basis tomorrow. That means he does individual work, but he doesn't do any teamwork. I'm fine with that. That gives me hope. If there's no practice for him tomorrow, I'm going to lean towards him not playing. Right now, I don't think he's going to play. But tomorrow will tell the story for me. If he can go, that would be a huge help. If he can't go, you're in a little bit of trouble. And other guys are going to have to step up. And this is why I'm not confident that we're going to be able to score 28 or 31 or 35 like everybody else against Dallas, because we just don't have the parts. And it's not like when we were healthy, we were scoring a bunch of points anyway. Now that we're banged up and the receiving core is depleted, that's going to make it even harder to score points. Unless Dallas has a couple of coverage busts, guys are running open, and we don't miss. That always helps too. Anyway, thank you for the super chat, Martin Matthews. Whoa. Double up. Thank you for the super chat, Jamal Long. Thank you again for the super chat, Jamal Long. Thank you again for the super chat, Jamal Long. Really appreciate you. Greatly appreciate you, Jamal Long. Thank you so much. My man Jamal, who doubled up and doubled up big time, says, you know, the most frustrating thing about being a Washington fan is I'm only 30. And I remember when the Bills, the Rams, the Chiefs, the Titans were all walking bye weeks. Now they're Super Bowl contenders. You're good at what you do in your football analysis. Keep doing your thing. I greatly appreciate you, and contributions like that are going to allow me to keep doing what it is I do. So thank you, Jamal, for your contribution, participation, time and energy, and resources. You're absolutely right. The frustrating thing is, at one point, we were all walking in the park together, man. And it was the Bills, who hadn't won a playoff game since 1999. And it was the Chiefs, who, you know, couldn't get out of their own way. I think they hadn't won a home playoff game since like 1991 or 92, something like that. The Rams, they had the greatest show on turf, so it hadn't been as long for them, but they had fallen on hard times at one point. The Titans, they were a mediocre team. The Titans were never really horrible. They just were like middle of the pack. 8-8, 9-7, 7-9. They were always somewhere around there. But anyway, we were all walking, you know. We were all talking about what it was going to be like when we finally had enough money saved up to buy a whip and we wouldn't have to walk anymore. And it seems like everybody's gotten enough money to go out and get a whip except us. And now the Bills are driving past. Honk, honk. Hey, what up, Washington? Rams are driving by. Aaron Donald gets out of the car, sacks us, gets back in the car. They drive off. The Chiefs, they in a limo. They in a limo, and windows tinted. You don't even know. Titans are like, man, we done upgraded. They driving a Tesla right now. You know, and they may upgrade again. I don't know. Derrick Henry's over here running for 200 yards. Ryan Tannehill's throwing for over 360. They're 5-0. Who knows? They may go foreign on us soon. And we're still here walking. We still are catching a bus. We can't afford to buy. We can't even afford to buy a 1992 Honda Accord. It's frustrating. But when you make the mistakes that we've made over the last 2 decades, shit, you can really go back 3 decades. This is the position you end up in. You keep going around in circles. You get in that hamster wheel and you can't get out. A lot of you don't want to hear what I'm about to say. Cover your ears. This is why Kirk Cousins shouldn't have been allowed to leave. If he's still here, I honestly believe, and look, if he's still here, Bruce is still here, and Jay's probably still here. Because if Kirk was here, we would have never been bad enough to get those guys fired because Kirk wouldn't have allowed us to be. And if we would have found a way to draft a Terry McLaurin, because we still would have had an opportunity to draft Terry. If you would have given Kirk Terry, you see what he's doing with the talent. And look, I get it. He's turning the ball over, this, that, and the third. They're scoring points in Minnesota. They just can't stop anybody from scoring points. Don't put that all on Kirk. Okay, and I'm not going to turn this into a Kirk Cousins discussion. But I will say, we had a franchise quarterback, we let him leave. First quarterback that remotely looked like a starter in 30 years, and we let him walk out the building. And here we are, once again, looking for a quarterback. You say you don't want, you say you're tired of losing. Well, show me that you're tired of losing. Because your actions say something different than your words. Maybe you were never going to win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins. I can concede that. Maybe he was never good enough to win, but he gave you a chance. We won a division with Kirk Cousins. I'm not saying we were world beaters that year, but he set all kinds of records, and he had talent around him. You took that talent away from him, And he still had us in a position to make the postseason. You took even more talent from him the next year, and we were still competitive until injuries took place. All I'm saying is that we got to have some kind of plan in place, and you got to stick to that plan. We talked earlier about whether you get the quarterback and then you build around him, or do you build the team and then get the quarterback? What do you think the Titans did? They tried to get the quarterback and build around him. They got Mariota. It didn't work. You know what they said? To hell with that. We're going to build this team up, get all these defensive pieces, get this running back over here, build up this offensive line. We're going to play credible defense. We're going to run the football, and we're going to get a quarterback that can manage the game. And they lucked into Ryan Tannehill because they thought he was just going to manage the game. And all of a sudden, Ryan's like, yo, I figured it out. It took me like 8 years, but I figured it out. I got it now. I got the juice. And now, as you mentioned, the Titans look like a damn Super Bowl contender. You know why? Because they built the infrastructure of the team, and they dropped the quarterback inside. At some point, you got to stop. You got to stop thirst trapping for a quarterback. That's what all you 1-in-15ers are doing. You're thirst trapping for a quarterback. No, don't do that. Don't be 1-in-15 to go and get a guy to save you. Because if that guy isn't the guy and he doesn't save you, you're right back at square one. You should know we did it with Bob Griffin. How about you try something different? We already went down that road before. How about we try something different? How about we build this team up? If we think the guys that are in the building now, unlike the guys the past 20 years, we think the guys in the building are actually smart, intellectual football guys that can find us talented and competent football players. If that's actually true, how about we try to build this thing up with the John Allens of the world, the Montez Sweats of the world, and the Chase Youngs, and the Kevin Pierre-Lewis's, and the Cole Holcombs. How about we try to build with the Kendall Fullers, the Antonio Gibsons, the Terry McLaurins, the Logan Thomases, the Jaron Christians. How about we build with these guys, add a few more pieces, and then find a quarterback to drop in the middle of that group. Whether it's a veteran or it's a young guy that you groom and he learns and then he's ready to go. How about we do it that way? That's all I'm saying. You want to know why the Chiefs are the Chiefs? You want to know why the Titans are the Titans, or the Bills are the Bills, or the Rams are the Rams? All of them did it different ways. All of them did it in a different way. The Bills said, you know what? We're going to get us a quarterback. But before they did that, you know what they said? We're going to learn how to win. So what did they do? They went and got Tyrod Taylor. They went and got a game manager. They built a team around that game manager. And you know what they said? Hey, you've gotten us as far as you could take us. Now we actually got to go get the guy. Because you're not it. Now you've helped us get to the postseason, which we haven't done in quite some time. Hadn't done it since 1999 when Tyrod took them to the playoffs versus the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2017. But they said, you've taken us as far as we can go. But we got the defense now. We got the right head coach. And we got some offensive pieces. We need more. But we got enough to be dangerous. And then they went and got Josh Allen. And they said, all right, we figured it out. Got the quarterback. He looks the part. But you know what he's missing? He's missing weaponry. So you know what they did this offseason? In the last two offseasons, they went and got John Brown, Cole Beasley, Stephon Diggs. They drafted Gabe Davis. They went and got tight end Dawson Knox in the draft. They drafted Devin Singletary and Moss from Utah this year. And now you look at all these weapons, and Josh Allen is like a kid in a candy store. Now, the defense has regressed for whatever reason, but because they built it that way, he's ready to lead that team. You look at the way that the Rams did it. They were funky. They were funky. When they drafted Jared Goff, they were funky. Jeff Fisher was garbage. They got rid of him. Everybody thought that Jared Goff was a bust. They bring in Sean McVay. They win 10 games and win the division. The next year, they go to the Super Bowl. That didn't happen because Sean McVay got there and Jared Goff was ready to just snap. They had good football players. They had good football players already on the team. They just didn't have a coach that could lead. McVay gets there, changes the offense. They go out, they sign Robert Woods, they draft Cooper Kupp. They get all the talent that they need. They go out and get Andrew Whitworth in free agency to shore up the left tackle position. They draft another right tackle in Rob Havenstein. And all of a sudden, the offensive line is booming. You already got Todd Gurley. You already got all this talent out there. Aaron Donald. All these first-round picks on the defensive line sound familiar to you? Michael Brockers. Chris Long. Aaron Donald. I think there was one more. I know they ultimately went and got Dante Fowler Jr., but I thought there was one more. Robert Quinn. He wasn't a first-round pick, I don't think. He might have been. I digress. They had all that talent. They won. It didn't happen overnight, though. They went out and built that first. So what I'm saying to you is, I just want to try a different method. The Chiefs, they drafted Patrick Mahomes, but you know what they could do? They could let him sit. Why? Because they had Alex Smith. They had a good team already. They already had Travis Kelce. They already had Tyreek Hill. They already had talent. They already had Kareem Hunt. They had talent already. They just dropped Patrick Mahomes in the middle, and he just turned out to be a super freak. Nobody knew, or he would have went number one. Nobody knew what Patrick Mahomes was going to be. He was the biggest enigma of that draft. The Chiefs knew something, though. Anyway, I digress, man. I said all of that to say this. I want to build this team. I see the pieces. I'm watching the film. You're watching the film with me on Patreon. You can't sit here and tell me you don't see building blocks of a team that has the potential. Because it's there. I see it every week. But mistakes and at certain positions, and Ron said it himself at a press conference on Monday, I want to say. He said, look, we don't have all the pieces. I don't know if we have all the pieces. He said it nicely. I don't know if we have. No, Ron, we don't have all the pieces, and you know that. We don't. But we didn't expect you to come in here and fix this in 1 year. I didn't expect him to fix it in 2. I just expected to be competitive next year. We still got time to do that. I told you when we were in the offseason, if by some chance we could get to a point where at the end of the season, we were playing good football, we finish off the season not necessarily scorching hot, but playing much more confident and competent football, you could see that bleed over into the next season. You could start to see the makings of a team that's getting it. And you add a guy here and add a guy there in free agency. You draft this guy, you draft that guy. And some of those first-year guys that were rookies a year ago are now second-year guys, and the light bulb starts to come on for them. And your second-year guys that were really starting to figure it out under a new regime now are your third-year guys, and they're now in the second year of Rivera and company, and they're more comfortable. And now you start to see the fruits of your labor start to actually take effect. That's what I was looking for. And we still may be able to get it. But we'll see. A lot of you are so impatient. You want the quick fix. You're up at 2 o'clock in the morning watching infomercials, and you want to be able to fix something like that with Flex Seal. It's not going to work that way. Appreciate that, Jamal Long. I really sincerely do, man. Thank you so much for the super chat. Got a super chat here from Trevor Patch. Greatly appreciate you, Trevor Patch, for the super chat, who writes, what flavor Kool-Aid the fam want when we sweep Dallas? It's going to be diabetic Kool-Aid for your information. Hey, a sweep would be so great, but guess what? Before you can sweep somebody, You got to beat them once. I ain't into counting 2 before I get to 1. How about we get this one first, and then we can talk about Thanksgiving when that gets here. I need this one first. We've lost 5 straight games. Until we stop losing, I don't want to talk about sweeping anybody. Keep the brooms and the dustpans in the closet. Thank you very much, Trevor. Okay? We beat Dallas. You can take out the broom. And as we start to continue to build off of that, if we win some games and we look like a cohesive unit, I'll allow you to go get the dustpan too. But for right now, leave the broom and the dustpan in the closet. Leave the Kool-Aid packs in the pantry. You can go ahead and get the jug out if you like. You can fill it up with some water even if that makes you happy. Don't pour any Kool-Aid in there though. Don't pour any Kool-Aid in there. You might be drinking a sorry-ass cup of water if you're not careful after this game is over. So I wouldn't commit to any flavor of Kool-Aid right now. Sounds good though. Got another super chat. This one's from my man Derek B. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Derek B. Greatly appreciate you. Derek B. writes, OC, O-line, running back, tight end, wide receiver, quarterback, all making too many mistakes. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. So here's the thing. Offensive coordinator. First time ever doing this. If you thought he was going to show up and all of a sudden knock your socks off with limited weaponry, you're sadly mistaken. You're very misinformed, and I can't help you because just like Dwayne when he got in there, and just like Kyle to an extent, who's a young quarterback himself, and just like Antonio Gibson and Antonio Gandy Golden and Isaiah Wright, who we see make mistakes every week. They're young. They've never done this before at this level. There are growing pains that are associated with this, which is what I told you guys in the offseason. There are growing pains that are associated with a young team that doesn't have an offseason and no minis and no way to really work some of those kinks out and get comfortable in a brand new scheme. There's a lot of growing pains. And same could be said for Scott Turner. This is his first time doing this. It's funny because I'm looking at Sean McVay. And you guys used to criticize the hell out of Sean McVay when he was here. It's funny because you would have thought that Sean McVay was this god here in Washington. No, you guys used to kill Sean McVay. Oh, we didn't run it enough. Sean McVay's terrible. Then when he got the job, oh my God, we should have kept him here. You didn't want him when he was here. Some of you guys are so funny. You've got selective memory. You've got amnesia. You didn't love Sean McVay when he was here. And when you look at a lot of these coaches, when they have success, it's because they've done it before. In Green Bay, they hired Matt LaFleur, who was here in Washington at one point. He went to Tennessee for a year and was the offensive coordinator and called plays for a year before getting that job. He had to get comfortable. He actually did a really good job that year, which is why he got the job in Green Bay. Scott Turner is essentially figuring it out on the fly. And I think he's doing a pretty solid job. I don't love all of his play calls. I don't love all of these concepts. I understand them. I know how they work. But I don't always love how they execute. Our spacing has been terrible. Well, that's a byproduct of coaching. Well, this is a young staff. Well, Scott Turner is a young offensive coordinator. Can't say it's a young staff. A lot of these guys are veterans, been around the block several times. Offensive line, I don't think they've been as bad. I've been telling you guys this since like week 3, when you guys wanted to jump off the cliff and you wanted to take all 5 offensive linemen with you. And I said, I'm telling you guys, and I gave you the film as evidence. I wasn't just telling you this. I showed you the physical evidence This offensive line has not been that bad. The Giants didn't even really get a sniff on Sunday. They got to the quarterback, I think, twice in the game. One ended up being a fumble. I grant you that. But they barely blitzed, and they barely got home. Kyle Allen had forever to throw the football in this game. The one game that I thought the offensive line was a train wreck was against the Rams. I thought that was poor. That was poor game planning by the offensive staff, is what I thought that was. Because you saw what the Rams were doing. I pointed it out in the film. They were sliding their 3 defensive linemen to one side to force a one-on-one with Aaron Donald. I don't give a shit what you do to try to force a one-on-one with Aaron Donald. You're not getting a damn one-on-one with Aaron Donald. Even if I got to keep my damn running back in there and we got to double team him that way. Even if I got to sift my damn guard from the other side of the field, we're not giving Aaron Donald one-on-ones. Well, we did, and he beat our ass. That's poor coaching. That's the lack of an adjustment. But to your point, the running backs are young. McKissick has never been in this big of a role before. Never. Not in Detroit, not in Seattle. He's never been in this big of a role in his career. Antonio Gibson has never been a running back. In college, he was a receiver. At the end of his career, they started to give him more touches at running back, but he's never been a full-time running back. This is all new to him. They're going to make mistakes. And I know that there's the crowd, well, we should have kept Adrian Peterson. Touche. I got nothing for you. They didn't want him. They moved on from him. Is he an upgrade over Peyton Barber? You damn right he is. I got nothing for you. That was their decision. I didn't necessarily agree with it, but they wanted the young fellas to play, and Adrian wasn't going to sit back in a backup role. He already told you that. He meant it. And so in order to, and I'm pretty sure they went to him and said, hey, this is what we got in mind. What do you think? And he said, nah. He already said. He said it to Josina Anderson. I had more to give than just a backup. That's not why I came here. Well, then you go be a starter somewhere else. And he's in Detroit doing his thing. Good for him. But the running backs, they got to learn. I'm glad they're taking their lumps now so that when we're actually trying to play real competitive football next year and the year after, they would have already gotten that out of the way. Tight end. We don't have the tight end of the future on the roster. I don't even worry about that one. I like Logan Thomas. I think he's a part of the solution. He's just not your number one. That's fine. He could be a hell of a tight end number 2. Go and get you a baller as a tight end next year. A guy that's a receiver. Even if he can't block, and he's another Jordan Reed, but he can catch the hell out of the football, and he can stretch it vertically, and he's athletically gifted, bring him in. I'd love to see it. Wide receiver. We need help. We need at least one more guy. Because I still believe in Steven Sims. He's been banged up all year. That's not his fault. Can't help injuries. I think when he comes back, if he stays healthy, he's going to show you guys. Now that Kyle Allen's in there, I think he's going to show you guys what he can do. Kelvin Harmon is a guy that I believe in. Think he'll be back. Think he'll help this football team. Obviously, you got Terry McLaurin. We're gonna get a nice, long, extended look at Cam Sims now. All you Cam Sims truthers out there. We're going to get a long, extended look at Cam Sims from this week moving forward until we start to get some healthy bodies back. And maybe that happens after the bye week. Maybe it doesn't. We're going to get a nice, long, hard look at Cam Sims. We're going to see what Jeff Badette and all these other guys can do. This is what you find out in a season like this. You start figuring out which guys can play. There's a reason that Tamarick Hemingway is here. Why? Because he got to play in Carolina at the back end of some bad seasons. You put him in, you see what he can do. Marcus Ball, all of those guys. That's why they're here. They got opportunities. Kyle Allen, same thing. Got an opportunity at the back end of a bad season. Turned that into getting an opportunity to play when Cam got injured the next season. And now he's here. You find out if guys can actually play in this league in seasons like this. And again, everybody you have isn't going to be a superstar. You need glue guys. You need cogs in the machine. You start pulling out little screws and washers and all those things, the machine doesn't work. Everybody's not going to be a star. You still need those guys that help the engine run smoothly. And so all these positions, and quarterback, yeah, we definitely all know we can use an upgraded quarterback. Those mistakes that you're talking about are growing pains. I know you don't want to hear that, but it's the truth. I watch football every week. I watch all 32 teams in action when they all play. This past week, we had 4 teams on a bye week. So 14 games. I watched all 28 teams in action this week. I saw some young teams making some dumb mistakes that cost them ball games. I watched Cincinnati jump out to a 21-0 lead on Indianapolis on the road. And I watched them systematically piss that game away to the point that it was 24-21. They were up by 3 at halftime. They gave up 21 points in the second quarter. Now, the defense held serve the entire third quarter. And Cincinnati even added a field goal. And they were up 27-21, and then they gave it up in the fourth quarter with a touchdown to Phillip Rivers. Had a chance to then go down and win the game. And what does their young stud quarterback, Joe Burrow, do? He throws an interception. That's what young teams do. They make mistakes in crucial situations because you're a young team and that's what you do. You got to learn. It's unfortunate that it has to cost you ball games, but that's a part of the process. It sucks, but it's what you go through to try to win in this league. And you hope that the guys that you're going through this process with are the guys that are ultimately going to get you where you want to go. When it really hurts you and when it really sucks and what really sets you back is if you're going through this process with guys that aren't going to be there when you really start trying to win. That's when you get set back. That's been our problem. Too many Trent Murphys and Jamison Crowders and Kirk Cousins and guys that weren't going to be here when we really started to win. They took lumps with us and we thought they were building with us. And then when we started to try to turn it around, they weren't here. Well, now you got to start all over again with all new guys trying to learn how to win. We never, ever, despite how bad we were year in and year out, we never, ever hit the reset button. We did that last year. But we always kept trying on the run, on the move to fix it. 7-9 was always good enough. 6-8-1 or whatever, or 7-8-1. We were always on the move trying to fix it. Bruce was always trying to put a Band-Aid on it to save his job. No, just tear the shit down and build it up. That's what last year was for. I don't want to do that again. We tore it down last year. We got Chase Young out of it. Now let's just build with that. Let's just go with that. We'll figure out the quarterback situation. If we got to move up in the draft to get a guy, or if we like a guy where we're sitting, or we could trade back and get a guy that we really like. I trust the evaluators in the building enough now because they didn't want Dwayne. I didn't want Dwayne. Okay? Dan Snyder wanted Dwayne. I didn't want him. Kyle Smith didn't want him. So I trust the evaluation of the guys in that building to the point now where I'm like, let's build this thing up. And I'll let you figure out who the quarterback is of the future. I trust you enough to figure out if we got to trade up to get a guy, so be it. Do it. If we stand pat and we like a guy here, take him. If we move back in the draft or we're in the second round and this guy's right in our wheelhouse, take him. But that's where I'm at with mine. But yeah, there are a lot of mistakes being made. That's because we're a young team. Mistakes are going to happen. Thank you for the super chat and doubling up, Derek B. Got another super chat here from Martin Matthews. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Martin Matthews. Greatly appreciate you. As always, double M. My man Martin writes, hey, Louie, what's going on with the quarterback on the practice squad? He is a rookie. He's big. He's strong arm, athletic. No one is talking about him. Do I have this wrong? Is he garbage or should we coach him up? You're talking about Steven Montez. First of all, I never, ever trust a man with 2 first names. That's number one, okay? You know the rules to the game. Then play, all right? 2 first names, he's a troublemaker. That being said, I broke him down for you. If you need to go back in the archives, you can. I'll give you a brief synopsis, though, since you blessed me. But, yeah, so he's not garbage. He's toolsy. That's one of my phrases I like to use. He's toolsy, all right? He's one of those quarterbacks that when you look at his tool belt, he's got every tool you're looking for, all right? And they all work. He just doesn't know how to use them. What good is a craftsman? And they tell you, a craftsman is only as good as his tools, right? Well, what happens if the craftsman doesn't know how the hell to use the tools? I don't want you taking a screwdriver out and banging it with a wrench. That's why you got a hammer, bro. He's big. He's athletic. He's got a big arm. He makes poor decisions. And he's inaccurate. And I don't trust him. I watched him in college. A lot in college. I watched way more Colorado football than one should. Too many late nights on the East Coast with Pac-12 football on the television for no reason other than, look, this is on. It's on. It's nothing else on. It's late. You could take that or you could take some Boise State. No, I'm good. I'll stay here with the Pac-12. I watched a ton of Steven Montez. Never was impressed. Ever was impressed. And he had talent around him. It's funny because you get some people, well, he didn't have any talent at Colorado. Well, how do you explain like 4 of the receivers that he played with over the last 3 years getting drafted in the NFL, including Laviska Shenault being a second-round pick, easily would have been a first if he didn't get hurt and have hernia surgery during the combine and didn't run fast. He had talent, man. Javon Winfrey, Laviska Shenault, as I mentioned, those are 2 guys that come to mind that were drafted. There was talent on that Colorado football team. He just wasn't very good to me, in my estimation. So, look, you coach him up. You see what this guy can do. Maybe he develops. I look at him as a Nate Sudfeld. Big, tall kid. You know, a little bit of athleticism. Don't go too far with him. So, coach him up. See what he can do. You know, but I definitely never looked at Steven Montez as a guy you hitch the wagon to down the road. Like, oh, we could develop this guy. He could turn into something. Nah. Thank you for the super chat and doubling up, Martin Matthews. Damn twin Shorty Sublime. Tripling up. Thank you for the super chat and tripling up. Damn twin Shorty Sublime. Greatly appreciate you. Damn twin writes, I live in Houston. For what it's worth, there's a lot of talk lately about Fuller being on the block. That's why I threw his name out. I really don't understand why they would do that. I understand it from this perspective. He's injured a lot. And if you don't believe in his ability to stay healthy, then you trade him. But when I look at the Texans, I don't see an offense that can afford to lose a talent the likes of a Will Fuller V. I just don't. It's amazing how much different that offense looks when he's healthy versus when he's not. And that was even when DeAndre Hopkins was there. Now that they have John Brown and they got Randall Cobb and Kenny Stills, you would think that there's enough talent that if they traded a Will Fuller, they'd be okay. I don't think that's the case. Now, this is the only thing that I'm thinking about that makes any kind of sense. They don't have a lot of assets left after Bill O'Brien pretty much ravaged and pillaged all of their resources. They have nothing left. They have nobody to trade. They have no assets to trade. They're looking to get some draft capital back. It's killing them right now. And we've been there. It's killing them right now to not have a first round pick. Because the silver lining in a season in which you had high expectations and you struggle is that, well, this sucks, but at least we're going to get a high draft pick. And if the ball bounces our way, we were just a division winner and hosted a playoff game a year ago. So if we get a guy high in the draft, get some guys healthy that may have gotten hurt last year and weren't able to really contribute, we could be right back in the mix again. That was our thought process back in 2014. Remember, we won the division in 2012. We made the Bob Griffin trade. We made it with the assumption that, one, you can't put a price on getting a franchise quarterback. If you can get him, you give up whatever you got to give up to get him, and you live with the consequences. But if you got the right guy, you won't even feel the dent of 3 first-round picks. You won't even feel it if this is the guy for the next 15 years. And the second thing, the second thought process there was, we just won a division. It's not going to matter. We're going to be good anyway. We're going to be good. Well, 2013, you sucked. So much so that you think the Rams got the second pick in the draft up off us. And that's when you start realizing this sucks. And I think the Texans are at that point now where they're like, this sucks. We could end up 4-12 this year with the 5th pick in the draft, and we're not making it. The Dolphins are. What the hell? And so maybe, just maybe, and this is just a prevailing thought. This is just my thought. I shouldn't say prevailing because I don't know if anybody else is thinking this. This is just my thought process. Maybe they're thinking the one asset that we do have that could net us a second-round pick is Will Fuller. And right now we could use any pick in the top 100 we can get our hands on because we don't have a lot. Now they got a bunch. I think they got a bunch of picks after the first round. I think because they traded DeAndre Hopkins for a second, if I'm not mistaken. I think they got a bunch of seconds, like 2 or 3 seconds, but they don't have any firsts. So they're like, if we can get another second from somebody, if we need to move up into the first, we can package up a couple of seconds and get in the first round and get a guy if we need to. I don't know. Maybe that's the thought process. I just don't see them trading Will Fuller. But I get it. You live in that area, and that's the word out on the street. So I appreciate you. Let's see if we got any more super chats. All right. Got a super chat here from Hunter Hadvik. Thank you for the super chat, Hunter Hadvik, who writes, "Hey T, saw a lot of rumors today that the Jets tanked for Trevor. How would you feel giving them a 3rd rounder for Darnold and saving that 1st round pick?" I am not a Sam Darnold fan. Never have been. Don't know if I ever will be. I will say that he is talented. I cannot deny that. However, the Jets aren't taking a 3rd round pick for Sam Darnold. I think they're going to want more than that for him. Just think about it this way. And it's not an apples to apples comparison, but I think most people look at Sam Darnold and think he's being destroyed by a terrible franchise. I think most people think Sam Darnold can play, and he just needs to be rescued from that Jets organization. And so I think the Jets are going to feel like we should be able to get a 1st round pick for him. If not a 1st rounder, no worse than a 2nd. But in their mind, they're thinking somebody's going to give up a 1st round pick for him. If the Arizona Cardinals can get a 2nd round pick for Josh Rosen, and he looked terrible in that rookie season, even though the circumstances were similar, where it was a terrible team and it was poorly coached, they got a 2nd round pick for Josh Rosen. I think they're going to feel like we should be able to get a 1. We spent a 1 on this dude. He's good. We just think we can upgrade. And we want to attract the new coach who's going to want to pick Trevor Lawrence and roll with him. It's not that we don't like Sam, and they're not shitting on Sam. It's not like they're devaluing Sam like how we've done with Dwayne. We made Dwayne's stock plummet. We did that by not only benching him, but demoting him to number 3 and not even making him active on game days. We made his trade value plummet. The Jets aren't going to do that with Sam Darnold. I don't think you get him for a third round pick. I think if you want Sam Darnold for the Jets, you're going to have to pay a first round pick. Now, maybe the Jets take a first rounder in next year's draft. But I don't think they take one this year. So that's the question. I think that's the real conversation is what are you willing to give up and what are they willing to take? Because I think a team would be willing to part ways with a first rounder, especially if they know they're bad this year. And the pick is, they already know what the pick is. That was the whole Trent debate, if you remember. The whole Trent debate was surrounding knowing the pick versus making the trade and not knowing what the pick was going to be. Most teams, when they know what the pick is, they're willing to part ways with it if they think that they can be better. You know, they're willing to part ways with that pick if they think it's good value and they don't want to give up future assets. If they really like where they sit and they don't think it's equal value, they're not going to trade the pick that they're sitting at. For instance, let's say we end up with the 7th pick in the draft. We're not going to want to give up the 7th pick in the draft for Sam Darnold. Hell, we could draft our own Sam Darnold at that point. But, you know what we would do is give you our first round pick next year. Because in your mind, you're telling yourself, we won't be 7 or higher next year. We'll be much lower in the draft. So we'll give you next year's first rounder to get Sam Darnold now. And if the Jets are cool with that, then maybe you pull the trigger on that. I don't know. That's another intriguing dynamic to look at is what the Jets, and we talked about that on one of the overtime shows. I want to say it was that Thursday night game when they played the Broncos. Like, what do you do if you're the Jets and you get to a situation where you're in a position to draft Trevor Lawrence? Do you pull the trigger on Lawrence? Or do you say, you know what? Nah, we sold on Darnold. We just need to get the right coach in here. And then do you then say, hey, but hey, I know a lot of y'all out here desperate. What you want for this pick? What y'all willing to give up? Because you can expedite. Like the Dolphins, we laughed at the Dolphins a couple of years ago when they were mortgaging off every single piece of real assets that they had. Anybody that was any good, that wanted out, that didn't buy in, that didn't believe, they had to go. And we laughed at them. Look how fast they sped up that process. Look at the Raiders. We laughed at them when Gruden got the $100 million deal. And oh my God, this guy has signed every 2005 Pro Bowler, you know, Doug Martin and all of these dudes that he brought to the table. And you're like, man, this team stinks. Look at what he's done. He's gutted them and brought in all these old ass dudes. But you know what else they did? They got a bunch of draft picks. Wasn't a fan of the Khalil Mack trade. Got a bunch of draft picks for it, though. Look how fast they've turned things around. You can speed up the process. You just got to be smart about it. So if the Jets say, you know, we good with Sam. Nah, we good. Who going to give me King's ransom to come get number 1, though? They could do it. They got to believe in Sam Darnold. I don't know if they believe in him enough to do that. Thank you for that super chat, Hunter H. So I got another super chat here from my man Protect Sports. Thank you for the super chat, Protect Sports. Greatly appreciate you. Protect Sports says, Haskins to Pitt for a 4th and a 6th rounder. Thoughts, bro? I'd take it. In a heartbeat. I'd take it. More draft capital. More maneuverability. 2 more picks in what's going to be a deep draft class, it looks like. I'd do it. Absolutely. Wouldn't even hesitate. I'd prefer it to be a 3rd and a 6th. But beggars can't be choosers. He has absolutely no trade value right now. If somebody approached me for a 4th and a 6th, can I at least turn that 6th into a conditional 5th? And the condition is that I don't know. What could you make the condition? I guess because theoretically he shouldn't be starting for you. He should be getting no snaps. So I don't even know if you can make it a conditional fifth. I'd prefer that fourth to be a third, personally. If I could be a little greedy. But I'd probably settle on the fourth and sixth, honestly speaking. I don't think you can get much for Dwayne at this point. Like I said, we killed his value by doing the things that we've done over the last 3 weeks. I think I'd take it. Got another super chat here. This one is from Mark McKnight. Thank you for the super chat, Mark McKnight. Greatly appreciate you. Mark writes, "Hey, Louie, what do you think about getting Cam Newton next year? We will have money to sign him." Yeah, we'll have money to sign him. Obviously, what is Cam looking for? How well does he play this year? All of those things are going to factor into what his market looks like next year. They just lost to the Broncos. He did not play well. He had COVID. He didn't practice a lot over the last couple of weeks. It affected him. Maybe it did. Maybe it didn't. But he didn't look sharp. He threw 2 interceptions. They lost the game. They only scored 12 points. He's going to bounce back, I surmise. I still don't think the Patriots are a playoff team this year. I said that before the season started. I'm not going to change. They've done nothing to change my mind. But there will be suitors for Cam Newton potentially next offseason if he plays well. I think we will be one of them. I think he would like to be reunited with Ron Rivera. I don't know how Scott Turner feels about Cam Newton, though. I don't think he necessarily loves Cam Newton. So that would be pretty interesting, to say the least. I'm not the biggest Cam fan in the world as of right now. But if you told me we were drafting a young quarterback and we were going to sign Cam to a 2-year deal, I'd be on board with that. Let's say that they really like Jamie Newman. I'm just throwing out a random name. Rando. Let's say they like Jamie Newman. Think this guy's got a tremendous upside, big arm, athletic kid, strong, well-built. Like him a lot. Don't think he's ready to play, though. They go out, they sign Cam to a 2-year, let's call it a 2-year, $40 million deal. $20 million per. I think that's a little much, but that's the going rate for a guy the caliber of Cam with the accolades and the resume of a Cam Newton. 2-year, $40 million deal. If he plays well, again, that is all predicated and based off of him playing well the rest of this season. You bring Cam in. You start him. You got Jamie Newman learning behind him. Let's say the second year of that $40 million deal is a club option, team option. So if you want to get out, you can. So similar to what Drew Brees has signed the last couple of years. It's the same deal Tom Brady just signed in Tampa. It's a 2-year deal, but I think either Brady or the club can opt out after the first year. One or the other. So let's just say the club has an option for the second year. Let's say Cam plays well at the beginning, but towards the end, you could see a guy that was starting to decline in terms of health and talent. And by the end of that season, Jamie Newman was in there. And you like what you saw from him. You could get out of that Cam deal, and you just roll with Newman moving forward. I could see something like that happening too. But Cam is interesting because of the relationship and dynamic with Ron Rivera. And Ron has had nothing but glowing things to say about Cam. And I think the only reason he didn't sign Cam here was because of Dwayne. I guarantee you, if he could find out if Cam was healthy or not, and he knew Dwayne was going to be trash in his mind, or at least not worth continuing to try to develop, he probably would have signed Cam Newton. But everything in the offseason, everything that he had watched, everything pointed to Dwayne being the guy that they wanted to continue to work with. And something happened along the way that derailed that. A lot of it rumored to be behind the scenes, practice habits, dedication. Those things waned after he got the job. He was not the same guy that was locked in, that was showing all of the leadership qualities, that was the first to the facility and last to leave, that was putting in the film study. Doesn't seem like he was doing those things. I can't confirm nor deny any of that stuff. This is just what we were told. And the guys that are reporting this stuff, I trust them. So at the end of the day, Cam is interesting, but I think if I'm Cam Newton, I don't want to go to a bad football team. Last year, it kind of worked out perfect for him because he's going to New England. They got a pedigree and a track record, so he just thought they were going to continue to win. That may not be the case. But as you get older and deeper into your career, it becomes more about winning, having a chance to win. Don't necessarily know if that opportunity is going to be here for you to do that right away. He's not getting any younger either. So if there's a team that comes calling that offers an opportunity to potentially win with a veteran group, he might go there. We'll see. Thank you for the super chat. All right. I think that's... Oh, okay. Got another super chat right here. Got a super chat here from Hunter H. Again, double up, Thank you, Hunter Hodovic. Really appreciate you doubling up, Hunter, who writes, thanks, T. Not a big college guy, but curious if this upcoming draft really has the talent for a franchise quarterback, or should we wait? P.S. It's Hodovic. Oh, Hodovic. Okay, Hodovic. Thank you. Hunter Hodovic. Got it. All right. No, this draft is loaded at the quarterback position. It really just comes down to what's your flavor. What do you prefer? And like every college football season, we don't even know what we think we know right now. Last year, when we were looking at college prospects at the quarterback position, nobody had Joe Burrow as a first-round pick. Nobody. Okay? 2 years ago, when Kyler Murray came out, nobody had Kyler Murray as the first quarterback being taken. Nobody. So these things are always fluid. They change throughout the course of a college football season. This being a unique season because of the COVID and all of these conferences not playing games and things of that nature, it's going to alter, some of the quarterbacks and how you feel about them and their tape. Like a Jamie Newman, for instance, he transferred to Georgia, was supposed to play this year at Georgia and really give himself a chance to improve his draft stock after leaving Wake Forest and being a starter there for 2 years. Well, he didn't play this year. He opted out due to COVID, and now it kind of like, all right, what do we do with Jamie Newman? You got tape, but is it enough for you to be definitive on him as a first-round quarterback or even a second-round quarterback? I don't know. You look at some of these guys like Zach Wilson. That's a name that a lot of Washington fans are clinging to right now, out of BYU. First of all, you don't even know if this guy's coming out or not. He's a junior. So he's got another year eligibility, and if he so chooses, he can go back to school, play another year. All right. Looks talented. I got to watch tape on him. I haven't watched any tape. I just watched a little bit of the game that he played I want to say it was last Friday. Watched a little bit of that game. So it's hard to say. It really is. Because this Wilson kid could be legit. Kyle Trask could be legit. Jamie Newman could be legit, and we may not know it. There could be some other quarterbacks that we're not even talking about that could be really quality NFL prospects that we would throw in the mix to go along with Lawrence, Lance, and Fields, who are right now consensus top 10 picks, all three of them. So this draft class looks loaded at the quarterback position, but beauty's in the eye of the beholder. What's good for one team may not be good for another. So I think this is the year you get a quarterback, though. You ask the question, is there enough talent in this draft to take a quarterback, or do you wait? No, you take a quarterback this year. If you're Washington, you take a quarterback this year. And with us being as bad as we are right now, I can't think of a better time to look to grab a quarterback, personally. Because when you look at some of the other bad teams, they don't need a quarterback. Dallas doesn't need a quarterback unless they're going to let Dak walk. Could happen. Philadelphia doesn't need a quarterback unless they're going to try to trade Carson Wentz. They're not doing that. They just gave him a contract. They love Carson Wentz. So those are two teams that stink right now. Giants need a quarterback, or do they? How do they really feel about Daniel Jones? I don't know the answer to that. I just know all these teams have quarterbacks right now. Are they going to be in the market for a quarterback? Mm-hmm. Only one team that I look at and say they're definitely drafting a quarterback. Other than us, obviously. That's Jacksonville. And I think Gardner Minshew can actually play. That's not going to stop them from drafting a quarterback, though. Gardner Minshew is not going to stop Jacksonville from drafting a quarterback. Period. Everybody else, though, you can make an argument for the Jets holding on to Sam Darnold. You can make an argument for the Giants holding on to Daniel Jones. You can make an argument for the Cowboys re-signing Dak Prescott. The Texans aren't drafted. Well, they don't even have a draft pick. The Dolphins aren't drafting a quarterback. They're going to have the Texans pick. They got Tua. So you can look at all these bad teams and you can say, hey, look, Bengals aren't drafting a quarterback. They could end up in the top 10, just like when you look at it, not a lot of teams are going to necessarily have to draft a quarterback. Now, have to and want to are two different things. So we'll see. Thank you, Hunter Hodovic. Hope I got it right that time. All right. That is going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. I thank you guys for joining me on this show. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys. Tomorrow will be Thursday's program. We'll turn our full attention to the Cowboys. We'll move on from the Giants game. I'll upload the second half of the defensive performance versus the Giants. I've already uploaded the first half. Tomorrow we'll talk more about what was said in the presser today from Ron, Kyle Allen. I'm going to tell you right now, I know you don't care about this, and you shouldn't. I really like Kyle Allen, but we'll talk more about that tomorrow. I really like him. I'm not saying that I want to bypass a quarterback for Kyle Allen. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just telling you, I like him a lot. I like his mental makeup. I do. The guy fumbles the game away, essentially, and has the stones to come back, the intestinal fortitude on the next drive to take his team right down the field and score a touchdown. That counts for something. I know some guys that would have tucked their head between their tails and ran after having an epic blunder like the one he had. Shit, we had a couple of quarterbacks here that would not have responded to that type of adversity in that moment and come back and taking the team down the field. I know a couple of dudes that played here that wouldn't have done what he did, which is take us down the field and score a touchdown, put us in a position to win. I really like this dude, man. But that's no here nor there. We'll talk about that more tomorrow, along with our first look at the Cowboys as we start to go behind enemy lines. Should be an interesting week, to say the least, leading up to this game, because I really don't know what to make of this game. The Cowboys still scare the shit out of me. As trash as they are, they're a wounded duck right now. They're a wounded dog. But you back them into a corner, and I don't know, man. They might bite the shit out of us. We'll see. Anyway, I digress. I'm your man, Louie T. And I'm going to go ahead and glide to the side, allow you guys to get back to whatever you were doing before you joined me. And I really appreciate you guys for joining me. Remember, if you're not a part of Flick and the community, Mob Squad, stand up, MOBB, stand up. If you're not in that building, get in the building. We in the building. Everywhere we go deep, mob deep. Ha! You saw what I did there? So if you're not a part of the Mob Squad, what are you waiting on, man? Become a part of the Mob Squad, a part of that community. And it's fun, man. I didn't think it would be this much fun. I had a blast chopping it up with you guys during the Giants game. I had probably even more fun during the Cowboys game. You guys are some fools, man, I swear. And I look forward to chopping it up with you guys on Sunday during this Cowboys game. So get in the group. And again, if you're not on Patreon, what more can I say? You should be on Patreon. That's what more I can say. A lot of good stuff, a lot of good content, and you really get to see what these guys are doing on the field. The film doesn't lie. That's why Derek B is so definitive in what he's saying, because he's watching the film. You can actually see it in front of your face. Nobody can lie to you and tell you what you should feel. You get to make your own decisions. So, I digress. That's 2 in the last 2 minutes, so that means it's time for me to go. You guys enjoy the rest of your night. I'm your man, Louie T. This has been Washington Football Nightly live. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap. Hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The